Hi everybody, I'm Patrick and welcome to Rocky Mountain Style. If this is your first time here, welcome. I appreciate you taking the time to click on the video. Lately I've been asked several questions about the sizing of different boots that I've featured or shoes, things like that, how they fit, how I landed on what size I went with. So today I wanted to go through each of the boots I have, at least each of the Goodyear welted boots I have, talk about the sizing and how they fit, but in addition I'm going to rank each one in terms of comfort from least comfortable to most comfortable for my foot. And one note I do want to make is that even the least comfortable boot on this list is still comfortable enough for me to wear, for a full day. I've taken the time to break each one of these in, and I count each one of them as comfortable enough to, wear for a full day. So even though something has to come in ninth on the list, there's really nothing wrong with it at all. So with that said, on to the list. Number 9 on the list is the Jackson Chelsea boot from Rhodes Footwear. Rhodes is the in-house brand of Huckberry. They've only been around a couple of years. This was my first Chelsea boot, and the sizing was a little tricky. As many of you are probably familiar that have had Chelsea boots, until they break in, you expect some amount of heel slip due to the fact that you need to be able to get your foot in, and there's no lacing. So in order to get my foot snug up front with minimal heel slip, it's a little tight in the foot box, and then as it broke in, the heel slip did go away, and they're fairly comfortable, good enough to wear all day, but certainly no better than the bottom of the list, unfortunately. I do really like the coloring on these though, and they look fantastic with jeans, and due to the way the leather is waterproofed, it's a great all-weather boot to wear in the winter. Number 8 on the list is the trench boot from Taylor Stitch. I have this in golden brown wax suede, which I think is a fantastic leather. I really like how it looks and how it's patinaed. Something this shares in common with the Rhodes, which was number 9 on the list, is the Vibram mini lug outsole. So I've learned about myself, I'm not a huge fan of this outsole. So in the future, unless I just absolutely love the uppers or a design of a boot, I'll probably steer clear of the mini lug outsole. This is nice. It has a good footbed. It fits my foot fairly well, but it's kind of stiff. When I walk around, it clunks a lot. And when I really cinch it tight up top, the top two speed hooks kind of dig in a little bit. So when I'm, taking longer strides, things like that, where my ankle and foot are flexing a little more, it kind of digs in a little bit and isn't the most comfortable. But again, it's comfortable enough to wear, and if you like the design, there's no harm in really picking one up, I'd say. Coming in at number 7 on the list is the Wingtip boot from Thursday Boot Company. This one, at first glance, I thought would use the exact same last as the Captain and be extremely similar, just with some broguing and things like that. However, once I picked it up and started wearing it, I realized it is a bit narrower. I have this in a 10, which is the same I have in a Captain, and it looks a ton narrower. Even when putting it next to the boot, it looks narrower. But once I put it on my foot, it doesn't feel any narrower. So I suspect that the sizing on this is sized down a half size from true, because it does look a bit narrower. It doesn't feel narrower. So I feel like this is probably more of a 10.5. It's just called a 10. I'm not sure if that made any sense. But the way the laces lace up, it's got a slightly taller shaft than the Captain, and the design of the heel cup causes a little bit more slip than you get on all the other Thursday boots I've had. So all in all, it's not a bad boot. I think it looks pretty snazzy, although I wish it had a fully rounded toe instead of a square toe. The color number 77 leather looks really nice in person. However, if you're looking something for pure comfort and you're looking at a Thursday, this would definitely be at the bottom of my list for comfort in the Thursday brand. Number 6 on the list is another Thursday, the Vanguard. And this one was tough to rank because I just got this boot in a few days ago and I've only really worn it one full time. However, I can already tell that I like it better than the Wingtip, so I ranked it 6th. It feels like it's going to break in similar to the Captain. It does feel slightly wider than the Captain, and it doesn't have speed hooks. It has eyelets all the way up. I think it's a great looking boot in color number 8. It has the normal Thursday feel. It has that same studded rubber outsole as all of them. It has the pour on insole, cork midsole. So as soon as I put it on my foot, having worn many Thursdays, it instantly is recognizable as a Thursday. So nothing wrong with it, but it's to me just absolutely nothing special. Run of the mill Thursday boot, which is to say pretty good value, but number 6 on the list. And number 5 is the Thursday Captain. This was the first Goodyear welted boot I bought that I really wore a lot. So I've had this boot 19 months and I've worn it more than any other boot I own. You can see here in the pictures it's fairly well patinaed. This is the natural chrome excel. This is a 10D. At first I bought a 10.5D, almost kept it because I really wasn't sure how to size boots. It felt an almost perfect fit, but then I, started reading about, hey, you need a little bit of room for Chrome XL to expand. So I went down to a 10D. It was a little snug at first, broke in, was nearly perfect, and then just kept expanding. So as I wear it, it seems to be getting bigger and bigger. So I hope it stops now. I already have to wear a fairly thick sock with it, but just know if you're getting something in Chrome XL, especially with a Thursday, which isn't the thickest Chrome XL, especially on the captains, expect it to stretch quite a bit. In general, though, fantastically comfortable boot. Really no complaints with this whatsoever. The only reason it's not higher on the list is because the things above it on the list are pretty exceptional when it comes to comfort. But if you're looking to break into boots, you want something that's pretty much guaranteed to break in and be comfortable, I'd pick up a Thursday boot in one of their Chrome XL options, which aren't this actually may be the only one now that I'm thinking about it in Chrome XL. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Pretty good boot, number 5 on the list. And number 4 on the list, my first Grant Stone product that I owned, the Diesel boot in navy Chrome XL. These here pictured have guarded goods laces on them in burgundy, which I think make them look pretty sweet. This is sized in a 10E. When I first bought this boot, based on my previous experience with the few Thursdays I had before, and with what they said online about Grant Stone sizing, I wanted to get a 10.5D. However, they didn't have that in stock, and so they recommended, well, if you think that would be right, go down to a 10E. So when I got it, it fit pretty much perfectly. Really liked it. There was plenty of room in the toe box. I think there's more room in the diesel toe box than there is in the Captain toe box and most of the boots before this, which I appreciated. So there was no pinching or anything like that. The heel cup was a little bit stiff, probably because they use a full leather heel counter, full thick veg tan heel counter in the back. So these took quite a bit longer to break in than any of the other boots on this list, even above them. But I'm glad I took the time to break them in because now they're exceptionally comfortable. Due to them being a 10E, the fact that they've stretched to just a little means they are a little bit wide. So I generally have to wear these with a thicker sock. But when I do, especially with the cushion socks I wear from Smartwool, they're just extremely comfortable. So I never have an issue putting these on, wearing these all day. So I'm really hoping in the future to pick up another diesel, maybe try a 10D. So I feel like once those stretch out, they might be absolutely perfect and not have to wear a thicker sock. But yeah, Grant Stone Diesel, number 4. Okay, entering the top 3 of the list, at number 3, we have the Thursday boot company Diplomat. So this is the first boot on the list and the first boot I own that had a wedge sole, the famous Vibram Christie wedge outsole. And as many of you know that have had this sort of sole, it spreads the weight of your weight all the way along the length of the boot. So these soles give pretty good support and, logically speaking, makes sense that they'd be fairly comfortable, and that's been my experience here. Due to previously buying a 10 in the Captains, I started with a 10 in these. However, it was significantly tight, did not feel good at all, so I sent it back, got a 10.5, and they fit pretty perfectly right out of the box. They have not stretched much at all, so this is their, what do they call it, rugged and resilient leather. They call it matte black, but it's not really matte. It's kind of shiny, a little satiny. But the 10.5 works pretty well. Wearing these around, it doesn't quite feel like gym shoes. I think that's an overplayed terminology. They don't really feel like gym shoes, but they are very comfortable for boots. And I would wear them more, but to be honest, I'm just not a huge fan of the leather in person. So I don't wear them as often as I normally would given the comfort of this boot. Number 2 on the list is a recent-ish pickup. I've only had these about 2.5 months. the Red Wing Heritage Classic Mock Toe 6-inch, also known as the 1907, due to the fact that this is the copper rough and tough leather. So again, just like the Diplomat before, these have wedge outsoles, which are fantastic. This boot to me has a slightly better overall shape due to the toe box being a bit wider. I like that. I like my toes being able to wiggle around a bit. That's something I've learned as well in my boot journey the last 2 years or so. Even if I can get into a boot and it breaks in and it's comfortable enough, I still like to have room to wiggle my toes around. So this gives me a little more room than the Thursday, which is why it's number 2 instead of number 3 on the list. This is a 10D. When I got sized in the Red Wing store, they tried to get me into 9.5s based on saying I was a 9.5 on the Brannock, which maybe I am, but I literally have never bought anything smaller than a 10 in my entire life, and I wear like an 11 in sneakers. But that's neither here nor there. The only issue I had with these was the heel in the back was a little bit flat. So when I put my foot in, there was a lot of pressure on the back rounded part of my heel. However, 5, 6, 7 wears, something like that, and it bumped the back of the heel out, so it was nice and round, and so it cupped my foot a little better. And now they are extremely comfortable, and I'm a big fan of these. Really, my favorite, if not my favorite, my second favorite boot that I own at the moment. So I can't say enough about these. Get into a pair if they feel a little off at first. Spend the time breaking them in, because I've been a huge fan, and I'm glad I did, and I look forward to wearing them a lot more. And topping the list, number 1, the most comfortable boot I own is the Truman Boot Company Ship's Biscuit Waxy Kudu boot. And as many of you are likely familiar, Truman doesn't really have model names. So Ship's Biscuit Waxy Kudu, of course, is the leather. This is a plain toe. They do plain toes and cap toes. And this is the 79 last with a 6-inch shaft. So it's not a taller upland boot. So the most important thing with all that I just said was this is the 79 last. This is a 10D. Given that these were made to order, I had to email a bit with Truman. I told them the other boots that I have, how they fit, what I think about them. And they said, okay, well, it sounds like you'd be a 10D. I'm glad that they have that knowledge and they recommended that, because this boot's absolutely perfect. And the 79 last really feels like it was custom made for my foot. As soon as I slid my foot in, that is, there were really no pressure points at all. I was gently snug everywhere, all the way around the boot. So with just a very minimal amount of break-in, the boot's absolutely perfect. And it's to the point where I can wear a thin sock and it doesn't really move around. And if it's cold outside and I want to wear a thicker sock, because everything is so evenly spaced with how the shoe hugs me and how the pressure points are, it's not uncomfortable at all. So I can go up and down sock sizes, which this is really the only boot I can say of that. Every other boot has a specific sock I generally need to wear with it, and this one does not. Another thing I want to talk about with this one, this is the only experience I have with Truman, so I haven't experienced their Commando sole or anything else they have, but this is the Eugene sole, and specifically the Eugene regrind sole, but it's fantastic. It's not super hard like the Vibram mini lug sole on the 9th and 8th boots on the list, and it just seems more pliable and comfortable than the day and night copy soles that you have on the Thursdays and the Grandstone, the stud rubber soles, but it still seems very durable. So walking in this is a really great experience. I can't wait until I can buy another pair of Truman boots. I'll stick with a 79 last. I hopefully can get a 79 last with a wedge sole. I'd love to do that in one of the Rambler leathers at some point. Anyways, I could ramble on about these boots forever, but I'm not going to. So that was the top boot on the list. Okay, that's it, everybody. If you have experience with any of these boots, please tell me about it in the comments below. Or if you have any questions about perhaps why something is where it is, or if you have any questions about the fit or how I size specifically that I didn't already answer, please go ahead and leave a comment below and I will respond to it. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the like button and consider subscribing. Have a great day.